Okay, you're live. Goodbye. Good luck.
Live. Hi, everyone. We're going to just take a couple minutes to get people signed in. So excited to be here tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll just take a couple minutes if you want to sign into the chat and let us know where you're from. If you are where you're from and your name, that would be fantastic. I am still just getting my computer to go into the quiet mode here. So just getting ready to go into Do Not Disturb. All right. So today we are going to have another Q&A with your questions. So again, feel free to share where you're from. If you've got any questions top of mind, go ahead and put them in the chat. And we will be jumping right in as soon as we hit the time and we give people a couple of minutes to get logged in. Hey, Melissa, Texas. That is fantastic. Welcome. Nice to have you here. I am hoping that your weather is at least comparable to what we have here. It seems like we're finally getting to spring, so hopefully you're not getting hit with anything too extreme right now. We are definitely not. Hey, Terry. Hi from Minnesota. Now, I'm guessing maybe Minnesota could still be a little cold. I know it's just early March, so perhaps you are still in the cold time, but it's comfortable here right now, that's for sure. Phoenix. Hey, Darren. Hi. Welcome from Phoenix. Nice to have you here. So we've got all kinds of people from across the country right now. Welcome. Oh, 70 degrees. Okay, so you were definitely getting the good weather for sure. From Pennsylvania. Hi, Judy. Welcome. Nice to have you here. Brazil. Hi, Nicholas. Welcome from Brazil. That's fantastic. And Miami. All right. So we've got some great diversity across all kinds of places. So that's fantastic. Welcome. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, welcome. So North Carolina. 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so a little chilly. So that's basically freezing in Celsius. So that's cold. Not so much fun. And as you can see from the sun that's coming in on me, I'm actually at home today in my dining room, and my window, it is a sunny, really pretty day here. So my light should be changing dramatically from 6 to 7. It's like you watch the sun go down right now. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in Alcobaça on the Silver Coast, right in the middle of Portugal. Let us know where you're from. Again, welcome as you're signing in. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes just to get set up and get ready, and then we will get started. We are going to answer questions today as you have them, so please feel free to put them in the chat. Happy to answer as many as we can. Okay, more from Florida. Welcome. Well, we are not just doing changes at the office. I actually had to come back because I'm headed out on the road to go scout for clients tonight. So I needed to come home and actually pack because I kind of forgot to do that this morning. So I came home, decided to pack, do the webinar here, and then I'm on the road to Stubble tonight. I'm headed out to virtual scout for clients that are looking to purchase a house. So office is pretty much set now. We're getting pretty settled in. Michigan. Hi, Janice. Welcome. Nice to have you here. Austin, Texas. Very good. Very good. That's the one thing. We have a lot of people from across the country and from Brazil. Happy to have you all here. Just giving a couple of more minutes for it to hit the 6 o'clock hour, and then we will get started. Colorado. Hi, Joy. Nice to have you here. We are Portugal the Place. So I am the CEO, Colleen, and co-founder of Portugal the Place. We are in Alcobaça on the Silver Coast in Portugal. It's about an hour and 10 minutes north of Lisbon. So we are right smack in the center, which makes it perfect for what we do because we go everywhere in Portugal. And we're really excited to be hosting these Q&As. All questions are on the table. Please feel free to put them in the chat, and Fiona, who's behind the scenes, will post them up, and I can answer as many as we can get to. We have a lot of folks right now that are curious about all the different processes, everything from what it's like to live in Portugal, how to go through the visa process, questions between renting and purchasing and navigating schools, whatever's on your mind, please feel free to put it in the chat. That way everyone can dive into the answers and we can get going. Looks like we have another couple of minutes. Hi, Dave. Welcome from South Carolina. So we have North Carolina and South Carolina. Rockaway Beach in Oregon. Hey, Julie. Okay, so I'm an Oregonian. You saw that. I know exactly where Rockaway Beach is. I grew up in Newport on the coast, just a little farther south. So welcome, Julie. Nice to have you. All right. So we do get people from all walks of life, everyone that are looking and considering Portugal. So no question, if it's early in the stages or you've already been thinking about Portugal, please feel free to post up as many questions as you can. We're happy to dive in and give realistic answers and help you kind of navigate a lot of the confusion that can be out there on the internet. So it looks like we have just about another minute for folks to be logging in. Welcome to everyone that's just signing in. Please share where you're from, and we'll be starting shortly. Say hello. Again, I'm Colleen, and I am right now sitting in Alcobaça in Portugal. This is on the Silver Coast, and I'm really close to Nazaré. If everyone's been aware of the big waves, if you happen to watch that documentary, I'm about 5-10 minutes from Nazaré. So happy to be sitting here right now. And I think I just saw someone from Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us. Excited to be doing these sessions. We're really open to the questions, and whatever you have on mind, please feel free to share with us. Hi, another person from Oregon, from Bend. Very, very familiar with that. One of my favorite spots. Hi, Susan. Welcome from Ohio. Boy, we have cross country today. This is exciting. And Chattanooga as well. Welcome, Carol. Nice to have you here. So, all right, it is 6 o'clock. So as we get started, hi, Neely. Hi from Arizona and Arkansas. Brenda, hello. So as we get started, again, we're going to just talk about the realities and things to expect when you're starting the process of moving to Portugal. So whether you are early on and you're just exploring what you need to have as preparation, or if you've already kind of moved into the phases of actively relocating, please feel free to put those questions in the chat and we'll jump in. A couple of things for folks. There are some kind of non-negotiables that you need to have when preparing for a move. First things first, everybody, if you don't have your passports, you definitely need a passport, and you need to check your passport to make sure that your passport is not going to be expiring in the next 6 months. It's really important to have a valid passport, and you really want to have a validity for a year. If it's less than 6 months, you need to go and get that renewed right away. So that's something we really want to start with in the beginning, is check your documents and make sure your passports are have a long-term valid date on them. If not, that would be the very, very first thing that you want to get started on, is making sure your passports are renewed and up to date. Welcome, everyone. I just saw some more people signing in. So I know we're going to have some questions coming up here in just a moment, but we're just giving folks a moment to get settled in and get back on the call. Again, I'm Colleen with Portugal the Place, and we've been doing these questions and answer sessions since we've seen a lot of uptick in interest in moving abroad. And we really want to give a realistic, clear understanding of what it takes to make the move to Portugal, and in general, when you're moving overseas. It's a big step, and there's a lot of things to consider. Hey, Nicole. Hi from Ohio. Your first question would be, you're interested in knowing if you have recommendations for immigration lawyers. We do. And it's an interesting question because it depends on if you need an immigration lawyer. So first off, if you qualify for one of the visas, like a D7 or a D8, and you have a very clear understanding that you qualify for the requirements. So you have passive income that fits and meets the threshold, you have savings, you have a clean background report, you may not need an immigration attorney. But if you've got some gray areas, maybe family reunification, some questions about how you structure your income, then we do recommend that you speak with a lawyer for a variety of reasons. One of them being they have the legal ability to give you the advice and then support you through that process, and also to have an attorney to be able to help with any appeal that might be necessary if for some reason you were declined. We have partners. We work with Atlantic Bridge. We work with Move In. We work with Viv Europe. So we've been very successful with these companies, but that certainly isn't the only companies that are out there. We've had really good experiences within these organizations. Move-In is probably our strongest partner right now. They've been able to handle our requests at the fastest pace. So we can give you recommendations for sure. And then there are others out there as well that our clients have used that we're happy to let you know how it's gone if you're interested in someone that we haven't listed. Hi, Ingrid. So your first question, can you recommend a reputable and good tax attorney through your services? Yes, we actually have a variety of tax attorneys. Again, it depends on the type of taxes that you're asking for consideration of. And if you're looking for a wealth advisor to help you restructure your income so that you can minimize your tax burden, or if you're looking for a tax attorney to file. So we have both and all of them, but just remember, you're going to need a cross-border tax specialist. You need to have someone filing your taxes in Portugal and then filing your taxes in the United States. So no matter where you relocate in the world as an American citizen, we are taxed on citizenship and not on our residency. So absolutely, we have referrals for those services. Tax consequences. So I'm not a tax attorney, and I am actually not allowed to go too deep by law, but here is some of the basic things you need to understand. In Portugal, or anywhere that you move abroad, as an American taxed citizen, we are taxed on our citizenship, not our residency. So for our guests that are on right now from Brazil, for example, this advice doesn't apply. You're taxed on your residency and not your citizenship. But unfortunately, as Americans, America taxes on citizenship. So we in Portugal have a tax treaty with the United States. And what that means is you file your taxes first in Portugal, and then through a series of deductions and tax credits, you're able to deduct the taxes you've paid in Portugal off of your taxes in the United States. It's complicated, and you definitely need to understand the process, and we highly recommend that you hire tax accountants to help you with this to make sure you're maximizing your deductions. So that's the consequence. That's the most important thing to understand. Americans are taxed no matter where we live. All right. Does your service offer immigration attorneys? And by the way, Ingrid from Silverthorne, Colorado. Hi. So we partner with very closely with our partners that I mentioned. So Move In, for example, works simultaneously with us, but they are the legal team that we work with. So we offer that referral, and we can stay in touch and navigate with them. And then they use our services for clients that are looking for the relocation side of it. So it's a true partnership, but they're not on staff at Portugal to place. They're our partners. And then if you move to Portugal in 2025 under the D7 and sell or close my current residence after receiving the D7 status, do I pay capital gains in Portugal on the US sale? So that again depends, because so it depends on the year. So in 2005, you could very likely move to Portugal in 2005, but not actually have your residency status until 2026. So there are some variables in there because there's two steps. You're not actually a resident of Portugal till you have your second appointment at the IMA office in Portugal. The first one you do in the United States does not affect your residency yet. You're not a resident in Portugal until you've had that second appointment. And that applies for the D7, the D8, the D2. That's how it goes. You have a two-step process. And so it depends on you shouldn't, if it lands at the certain timing. And that's why you want to make sure that when you're selling your property and anticipating capital gains in the United States, that you're strategic about doing that before you become a full tax resident in Portugal. There's also ways to mitigate that and set it up. And that's where I would move you to one of our tax partners that would give you an idea and a structure of how to set that up so that you can avoid it. So it's a half yes, half no. And there are ways to make sure that you're not getting hit twice with capital gains in the States and capital gains in Portugal. And I apologize, everyone. I have a bit of a cold, so I am so sorry if I'm sniffling in everyone's ears. So this is a great question because I have a cold and now you're asking for medical marijuana. Darren, so medical marijuana is an interesting situation in Portugal. So it is not illegal. Portugal has decriminalized drugs. So you can get marijuana in Portugal and you can possess marijuana in Portugal in small quantities, and it's decriminalized. It is not there's no crime attached. The trick is you can't sell marijuana in Portugal. So it's for personal use, for growing, you're not going to get into any difficulties. You can have it. Maintaining how you get it, there's limited resources for the prescription, but clients and many people are having no problem getting what they need through just knowing people, if that makes sense. So it's not difficult. The prescribed part you can get, but you do need to have all your prescriptions redone in Portugal. And then there are less options through that process than maybe just finding it available on your own. And that's me walking around and saying things that, we're trying to say, but not say, if that makes sense. All right. So, hi, Nicole. The Portuguese website says you need to be in good health. Do you have an insight on what that means exactly? There's no definition. We've had people move with multiple disorders. My father moved with us. He was 81 years old. He fully got his visa. He lived here happily for 3 years before he passed away. And he had every condition you could imagine that was readily available. He had diabetes, heart condition. He had congested heart failure. He had a lot of things that were definitely on his list, and he was 81, and they never ask. We have folks that have had MS. We have had folks that have been in an active case of diagnosed with cancer. It doesn't come up. We have families with children that have a variety of disabilities or things that they're working through. I know they say in good health, but we haven't had it ever asked. There's no interview about it. There's no questionnaire about it. So it's just a statement they make. There's no qualifying for it. And Elizabeth is asking, do you have suggestions or recommendation for establishing a virtual meal service? Absolutely. The two areas that are the best for our clients to work through are the virtual meal services that are out of North Dakota or Florida. These two allow you to establish residency in those states using the virtual mailboxes, and they are full addresses, not just like a PO box. So Good Sam is one that has been really popular with a lot of our clients. So Good Sam is an arcing organization that supports people that are RVers, and they have a really robust virtual mail service because they serve a lot of people that are in RVs and traveling all the way down to South America and things. And so you can use Good Sam, and they have some really good rates, and they're out of Florida. So that's one that we have a lot of people using in our client base. But the ones that are the best are located in North Dakota or Florida. Those are going to give you the best options for creating a residency in the US if you need that. Hey, Dave, any secrets to getting the VFS appointments? No luck with any East Coast USA office. San Francisco seems to have appointments, but too far. Been doing the 5:30 a.m. attempts. Well, unfortunately, with the uptick in interest, we are all dealing with the fact that these appointments are hard to come by and that you really do have to be diligent. And you can't switch geographically. You couldn't use San Francisco if you are geographically in Washington, D.C., for example. One thing that some people are doing is they are changing for DC to walk-ins, and they're picking up some of the walk-in times that they have posted. But that's only something we recommend if you're within driving distance and you don't go through the expenses of buying plane tickets and then not making it in. We are finding that clients are having to stay very, very close to those early AM and multiple check-ins and doing it within the 30-day window of where you're trying to get that appointment. So for example, if you're trying to get an appointment on by April 11th or within kind of that window. Right now, it's like diligence every day as they dump those appointments back in. It's difficult. It really is. The immigration attorneys can't help. Anyone that says that they have the ability to help is very suspect because everyone is calling and trying to get through the calendar on the same line. So they're not prioritizing like attorneys over direct inquiries. It's just a matter of supply and demand right now. How many areas can you see for a scouting trip? So, well, if you're going on a scouting trip on your own, you know, time is everything, and that really dictates how much time you can get in Portugal. So if you're coming to use Portugal to Places services, for example, our minimum is a 3-day hosted package. And the reason we do that location immersion is most people come over for a minimum of 7 days. And if you discount the day of travel, arrival, and departure, then you're working in 5 days. And we want to make it so that you have some downtime in between days of hosted scouting. Because if you do too much too close together, it can start to just feel like white noise. So for us, we really recommend that if you come for 2 weeks, you can absolutely extend areas and you can expand. But the one thing that's a little, you know, you might not realize this, looking geographically, Portugal looks like you should be able to do everything very quickly. But though Portugal is the size of the state of Indiana, it has so much to offer. There are so many different cities and types of areas and places that you're going to want to visit that you want to be careful to really focus on what you're drawn to the most and try not to do the whole country, for example, in 2 weeks. That would be very difficult and it would be very hard to experience anything. So for me, I usually recommend in a week kind of seeing 2 to 3 areas. 2 weeks is a perfect sweet spot for a scouting trip. And you can usually get, you know, the Lisbon area, like a central area, and Porto in, or Lisbon, Algarve, Central. You know, you can pick up 3 really comfortably in 2 weeks. So this is a great question, Terry. Most clients really end up selling most of their furniture. So people bring things over and they ship things. And if they have heirloom items, if they have things that they've just purchased, perhaps, you know, they will put those items in. But in general, we don't see very many people that bring everything, you know, dining room tables and couches and beds and everything, because it's very expensive and it's easy to replace over here. Some folks will do oftentimes their bed because maybe they've invested in a very expensive mattress that they just bought, something like that. But in general, people rebuy when they come over here. And there's another reason for that too. Houses in Portugal are designed differently. And a perfect example is a bedroom. In the United States, a bedroom is 10 by 10, 12 by 12, you know, they're square. Here in Portugal, they're longer and more narrow. So they're designed in a lot of cases in the idea that the closet has drawers and storage systems. And so they don't expect you to have a dresser, for example. So it's a more long and narrow room, and it fits the widths of beds here. So in Portugal, they don't have double, queen, king. You have centimeter measurements of beds, like 160 by 180 or 180 by 200, 200 by 220. So the beds are completely different, the sheets, everything, and the rooms are designed in that in mind. So sometimes an American king, for example, doesn't fit in the bedrooms here. Okay, so you're looking to visit Portugal for a scouting trip. Could you describe the type of scouting tour services you offer? I'm traveling solo and would ideally like a small group experience. Thanks. Absolutely. So our scouting services are designed for each client that comes over. And so in your case, in a solo, we don't do group tours. For our location immersion experiences, you're with local guides, but we introduce you to local folks. So for example, if you came over and did our 3-day immersion experience, we would help you organize the whole itinerary, set up on your free days, as well as your days that you're hosted, coordinate your transfers, make sure everything is all set up. And then we would also set up time for you to meet with like-minded people. So we'd get to know you. Perhaps you're interested in yoga and outdoor hiking and opportunities to be in nature. So we would then connect you with people in the community that are like-minded so that you could sit down and have a coffee or a glass of wine, share those experiences and connect you with locals that are here so they can share their real-time experiences, both positive and negative. We really want people to get a very clear understanding. And then we would continue that experience throughout the different areas that you are going to. And your guides are locals. So they are folks that are from the areas, that know the areas very deeply, and they would take you through an itinerary that was predetermined based on your interests, your lifestyle, your budget, all the different things that you'd anticipate, and then we customize that for you. Hi, Ryan. We hear it rains in the Northwest. Do you know if it's comparable to the weather in Portland, Seattle, where the sun turns off for 8 straight months? Well, being a Northwesterner from Portland, I can tell you that I totally understand what you're asking, and it is not comparable. The north part of Portugal definitely rains more than the Algarve or than Lisbon, for sure. But what I love about Portugal and what I'm enjoying so much is when it rains, it pours, and then it blows through, and there are sunny days. This morning, it was pouring down rain here on the Silver Coast, like cats and dogs, pouring down rain. By the middle of the afternoon, jackets are off, tables are dry, everyone's sitting out in the cafes, and it's beautiful in the mid-60s. That's the same throughout Portugal. So what I do really appreciate about that is you just don't get that heavy grayness that we have become accustomed to in the Northwest. When you're in Porto and north, Porto, Viana do Castelo, and going north, you get a little more. November through January, you have more rainy days than we do down here in the south and center, but nothing comparable. And you will never shovel snow, and you will never have to worry about ice storms. So it's totally better than that. Okay, so Scott's asking about overall cost for your services, including an attorney. Scott, I'd really encourage you, if you haven't already, to schedule an individual call because it depends on the service. We have a different cost for location scouting. We have different expense for if you're interested in us virtually scouting for a rental, and if you're looking to have assistance with purchasing. And then move-in gives different quotes depending on the size of your family. For example, if it's a solo person, move-in's quote would be one, but if they need to file paperwork for 4 people, it would be different. So absolutely happy to walk you through it, go through everything that you're looking for, the size of your family, all of that. But it can vary depending on all kinds of different bits of information that we need to get from you. And the calls are complimentary. It's absolutely no commitment, but it is really great for us to be able to talk one-on-one and understand what it is that you need and you're looking for. Absolutely. Happy to answer and keep them coming. And again, with the price, I'm in no way trying not to answer. It's just each person has such a different need that each person's price and requirements are going to be different. For example, if you were to do virtual rental scouting with us for a family of 1, 2, 4, it's a flat rate of 2,500 euros plus expenses depending on which city you're in. If you're in Lisbon or the Algarve, it's different than if you're in Porto or Coimbra. So that is absolutely a possibility. If you're virtual rental, that means that we do everything for you. We find the property for you, we vet it. It includes the legal review of the lease. We go through the process of getting it all set up. We get your utilities hooked up. We accept your deliveries. We help you coordinate your arrival, register your kids for school, all of the different things you need to do. If you need to buy a car, if you need to get insurance, all of that. But all of that is a package that is included for the virtual rental service. But again, you might have another type of service that you need, but that's just to give you an example of a straightforward package with us. And then it depends, again, on the attorney fees, depending on how many are in the family. Hi, Lauren. Yes, there are furnished apartment options, not as many as unfurnished for sure. And furnished here in Portugal can take on a variety of definitions. There are fully furnished, like it used to be an Airbnb, and it's full of plates and towels and everything. And then there's furnished with like basic furniture, maybe like a couch, a table, and a bed frame. It really, can run the gamut. And also sometimes furnishes can be like grandma's furniture, and you kind of wonder how many people have ever slept on that bed. So yes, you can get furnished, but we always put a little asterisk next to that to make sure it's furnished in a way that you would want to live long term. And then Neely is saying they read a stat that 50% of Americans who relocate to Portugal leave after 1 to 2 years. I can't believe that that's a real stat, Neely. It's so strange to me when I see these things pop up. We've been doing this for over 4 years, and we have had less than 10 people out of 900 leave. So if you just work in Portugal, the places stats, we don't even have anything close to that. And I know why each one of those people left. I know we had someone leave for medical reasons. They were on a terminal illness and wanted to be back close to their family. Someone else moved to Portugal, and the whole time they kept saying they wanted to live in France. And when they got here, they were like, it's not France, and they moved to France. It's a very strange thing I see. There was a lot of people that moved in COVID time when they could relocate and remote work that found out they couldn't keep their jobs remote and had to leave. But those haven't been our clients, but I have seen a fair amount of people that moved kind of spontaneously and didn't really expect to be here for a long time. And then their companies are pulling back remote work, things like that. But I can't believe that it's 50%. I've not seen any indication of that. And our communities have just grown and thrived. And I mean, I know people that have been here 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, lots of us in the 5-year range. And I just am not hearing that at all. Is it better first to visit first before renting? That's a tough question because we have so many people that just want to move into Europe. They want to get to Portugal. They have limited time based on their commitments in the States. And so they do the virtual rental with us, and then they just come in sight unseen. And it's scary because, that's a lot, right? Like you're just coming into something you don't have, a lot of comparison or understanding of what it's going to be like. I really encourage people to come over and see Portugal first if they can. But the reality is for some folks, their schedules and timing with jobs and schools and everything, it just doesn't work out. So it's about a 50-50 split for us on who comes over and then scouts, or who just does it all virtually. We don't right now, Joshua. We haven't been able to figure out the support piece for the Azores. I would love it because that would be fantastic, but we can't figure out the pricing for flying back and forth and helping with setups and things. So right now, Madeira and the Azores, we don't handle, but the rest of Portugal, all the continental Portugal, we handle. And how far ahead should you plan your scouting visit? Well, that is a really good question. If you're planning to work with Portugal the Place, we need to have a good couple months right now. Our calendars are almost they're completely full for the month of March. April is basically full. So we're booking in May, and it's really full as well. So we're able to do it, but the more lead time we have, the better that we're going to be able to serve you and support you. If you're coming over on your own and you're planning a scouting visit, the only time I really suggest you avoid, if possible, is August, basically end of July to 1st of September. This is the time when everybody in Europe takes a holiday. They all take vacation, and a lot of people from all over Europe come to Portugal for the beaches, for the weather and everything. So it is packed here. The prices of hotels are at their highest. The towns are, completely packed. The beaches are covered with people. And it's really, really hard to scout at that time because it's very hard to navigate and get around and kind of see it in what it's like the rest of the year. So if you're coming on your own, I would really avoid August. If you're trying to set up a time to work with us, a couple of months in advance right now would really make sure that we had time on the calendar. Is it necessary to have a car? So, Melissa, it depends on where you're going to be. Lisbon, Porto, absolutely not. You can live a car-free lifestyle very comfortably. Coimbra is another city where you can live a car-free lifestyle and have the connection to the high-speed train between Lisbon and Porto. If you're living in other areas like the Silver Coast, Setúbal, even the Algarve, up north, Braga, that area, a car is important to have. You might not use it all the time. You'd be walking in your town. You definitely do like a hybrid lifestyle, but it has more limits on public transportation in those areas. So a car to go anywhere distant or to go do things is highly recommended. The other piece of that is if you have children or animals and you don't live in the center urban areas, a car is almost required, because trying to move a dog to go to the vet or take your child to an extracurricular activity can get tricky navigating on buses. So Darren, this is a great question. And the attitude towards Americans right now, I have not experienced a drastic change except for one question of like, what's happening? The biggest question that I get isn't any kind of like disparaging remarks or not liking me because I'm American. There's a confusion. Like, can you tell me why this is happening? Can you explain what's going on? And most of the time it's kind of a head scratcher and you're like, it's terrible. There's a lot of anxiety around the instability that's going on in the world right now, but it's not really being seen on the individual basis. You're not getting like the reflection right now as an individual. You definitely get a lot of people that are curious about why Americans would want to move to Portugal. There's still a lot of questions about that from the Portuguese. They're like, why do you want to move to our little country? And there's a lot of conversations, of course, about availability of housing. It's not just Portugal, it's all of the world that is dealing with these housing disparities in urban areas and major metropolitan areas. So those are conversations that are ongoing, but Portugal itself has been very welcoming, and we haven't seen any general change in demeanor towards Americans, not so far. So Farrell, I'm not totally sure what you mean by you only need a residential for the D7 and won't be occupying it. I mean, if you're not occupying it, unfurnished should be fine. The biggest thing is to, when you're getting your visa and you're doing a property, you're going to have 3 or 4 months of not living in that property. So whether it's furnished or unfurnished, that is something that would be a personal choice. But once you arrive, if you want and intend to furnish it, it's not that difficult. There's every outlet and service to get what you need. So if you want to find a place that you want to personalize yourself, having it unfurnished when you're not here during that waiting period is absolutely okay. And then you can come and furnish it when you arrive after you've gotten your letter of your visa being approved. So it really doesn't make any difference. Perhaps on price, that'd be the only thing. You wouldn't be paying as much for a furnished, but then you'd make it up when you're paying for furniture. So it usually is a wash. Medical insurance options. Hi, Stacy. So medical insurance, Portugal, when you come on a visa, it requires that you have private medical insurance, and medical insurance is different in Portugal than it is in the US, in many other countries. So it has the national health system, but the one thing that they ask us to do is not be a burden on the system. And so there's a request that we get private health insurance. And there are many different options in Portugal, and private health insurance is much more affordable than the United States. That being said, there's a couple things that throw people off when they first get a quote. One, the private health insurances here don't cover emergency care. And that usually surprises people because they forget that there is a national health system. So if you have an emergency, you're taken to the closest hospital, whether it's private or public, they stabilize you, and then you can ask for your private doctor to come and see you, but you'll be stabilized no matter where you are. So that's one of the big things that seems strange when you get a quote for your health insurance. Another thing is ambulance care. There isn't any ambulance care because ambulance care is part of what your taxes pay for. And so therefore you don't have to have an ambulance rider, and you're not going to get a $2,000 bill when and if you have to use the ambulance. Another thing is there's no prescription coverage in your insurance packages because the prescription cost is the same for everyone that's on the national health system, whether you're a citizen or a resident, whether you have private or public. So you don't have to pay for that. So that's one of the reasons insurance is so much less expensive, is some things are just naturally covered under the national health system. That being said, there's one company that goes and allows you to get insurance without a pre-existing condition clause where you don't have to have a medical review, and that's MGen. MGen will allow you to sign up. You can sign up with them no matter what your medical conditions are, and then you'll have some waiting periods for anything that you do have as a medical condition, and they're slightly more expensive because they offer that option. The rest of the insurance, like Allianz and Zurich, the other companies, they're less expensive, they're more affordable, but they will do a medical questionnaire and an interview to determine if you qualify. So that's just some of the variables that you'll know here. But if you want to get insurance and not go through the hassle of like a full medical interview, MGen is your option. So piggybacking on Melissa's car question, if you want to travel around Lisbon and also visit Belém or Aias on a scouting visit, what's the best way to get around? I understand public transit is limited and biking is scary due to traffic norms. Well, I definitely wouldn't recommend biking for sure on your scouting trip because there's a lot of variables in getting to know the right roads to be on. And those areas, though, from Lisbon to Belém to Oraias, are all connected on the transit line. So you can at least go out west that direction on the light rail, and it's very easily connected. The thing is when you get there, you need to get away from the touristy areas where these trains are, and you need to get up into the neighborhoods to understand if these areas are for you. For example, Belém and Oraias are next to Ajuda, which is a fantastic neighborhood that doesn't have train traffic, it just has buses. And so if you're not using our services, which our guides drive and take you to all the places you're interested in, the other option would be to do a combination of the train and taking Bolts into the neighborhoods. Bolts or Ubers, they're very affordable here, taking those into the areas and then walking when you get up into those places. So Belém, Oraias are all accessible from the train. You can go out to Alcantara and then go on to Oraias, Belém. But to get up into Ajuda, you would want to use like a Bolt or an Uber or work out the bus system. So you can do it. And again, the taxis, Bolts, and Ubers are much, much more affordable in Lisbon than they are in the United States. So Jessica's asking if we have any insight on how serious food allergies are handled in primary schools. The same as what we deal with in the United States. We have many children that have moved here and entered the public school system with peanut allergies being the primary one that I hear about. So peanut allergy is the one that I know. And then I know that we have a couple people with egg allergies. So those are the two that I'm really familiar with based on the children that we've worked with. And they create a full plan. They have a bracelet they wear. They have a bracelet for when they are little children, when they are Portuguese as a second language, so that they make sure that the people that serve them in the dining, in the cafeteria, and the teachers are all aware of it. And they send home notifications on field trips and everything. And so it's all planned out and completely managed with your teacher and your school. So I felt like they've been very forward in that, and they're very aware of the food allergy concerns. So that's definitely something that we've seen families navigate well. And Lauren, so if you come on a digital nomad visa, do you know if you can decide to get a job in Portugal after moving, or are you locked into working remote? So to apply for the digital nomad visa, you definitely need to have a job, and that shows that you meet the minimum standard, and that you're either a freelancer with contracts or you have a contract with a company that shows you can work remotely. Once you get here, if you need to change jobs, if you need to adjust your income, whatever that is, that's totally fine. But on the 2-year renewal, you'll need to either decide if you're renewing again and you qualify for the D8, or if you have to shift to like a passive income. But you can shift and change jobs in between. We've had clients that have done that. It's just something you have to be able to show proof of employment or proof of income when you renew in that 2-year period. And Darren's asking, does private healthcare insurance in Portugal require a medical exam or is it a guaranteed issue? So just piggybacking on my previous answer, Amgen is the only one that doesn't do any kind of medical inquiry or interview and has no pre-existing clause. All the other insurance companies in Portugal will do a medical interview and may ask for a medical exam. And Nicole is asking, how far in advance should you start working on getting paperwork, visa submission started before moving over? If all goes well, we're hoping to move over by the end of 2026. So that's a great question. So what we need to plan on and what we work on is a 6-month plan. So you identify the time you want to live in Portugal, physically move. So for example, if you want to end of 2026, and I'm taking that as December 2026, we'd want to go backwards from December 2026. So you've got November, October, September. In September is when you'd want to be getting your visa appointment, because September of 2026, because you plan to wait about 90 days for approval. Now that of course is based on what we know today. I don't know what 2026 is going to be like. Maybe it'll be a longer waiting period or a shorter waiting period, but right now it's taking 90 days to issue the visa from that appointment. So let's say you had that appointment in September, you want to work 3 months before that appointment, gathering your paperwork together, getting your background check apostilled from the FBI, getting your accommodations sorted out, either having a purchase agreement or having a lease, and have all that prepared for that appointment in September. So you would be looking at basically starting the process about June 2026. And how far in advance do you need to rent an apartment before you come? So for your appointment, when you have your appointment, you are going to need an active, legal, and licensed lease for that appointment. So if you have an appointment scheduled, let's say right now, if you have an appointment scheduled, you're going to need at least 4 weeks to scout for that property before your appointment. And here are the reasons why. We've done it on a shorter time frame, but it's very stressful for everybody because you're under the gun and you know that you have to get that paperwork filed. And in Portugal, things work a little slower, and the people you're renting from are not on the same time frame that you are. They're not under the same pressure. So sometimes it takes them a week to return signed documents. They take a couple days to upload the paperwork into the finance department. So to give yourself time, we really suggest a minimum of a month. 6 weeks before starting the process is really important, because you need to not only identify a lease, but it has to be legal. That means that the landlord needs to be paying the taxes on it, and they need to have it registered with the finance department showing your name and their name on the lease. You need to have proof of deposits, and then you're going to pay for that lease for some months, about 3 months, usually 3 to 4 months before you're able to move, because you have to have an active lease that shows that you can move into it when you go to that appointment. And then you have to wait for your visa to be approved. Everybody does it. You just have to count that as moving expenses and prepare for that. And Brenda's asking, how hard is it to update an energy rating? If a home needs windows, is it pretty easy to get that done? Can that be done if you purchase a condo or an apartment? Absolutely. So energy ratings get updated all the time. That is absolutely something you can file for. And then it takes about a month, 2 months to get the new energy rating on the paperwork. A lot of properties right now that you see online for sale, they might say they have an energy rating of a C, but they look like they have brand new windows, or it looks like it should be better, probably because the people haven't filed yet or haven't bothered to file for a new energy certificate. So the apartment could be great and have everything updated, but you just don't have the paperwork to show it. So people update them all the time. That's something we do in the process of helping you understand if it's a viable purchase. And as far as when you purchase a condo and apartment, absolutely, windows are getting replaced all the time. Dave is asking if there's a deadline to move to Portugal once you receive your visa. Yes, you have 90 days from the time your visa is issued to relocate to Portugal. So you're going to wait about 90 days. You'll get your visa approved, and then you have 90 days from the date that they approve it to relocate to Portugal. And Nicole is asking, how do children from families you're working with acclimate into the public school system given the language barrier? It's been all over the board, Nicole. It depends on the age. The little ones, I'm so jealous of, because those that are like under the age of 9, they're just like little sponges. They go in and they don't see it as anything except an adventure. And these kids are already translating for their parents, and they're in it. It's really wonderful to see how quickly they can just absorb the changes. The older kids, the middle school and teenagers, it's a mixed bag. It really depends on the child. So we've had some teenagers that have just dropped in and thought it was great to be the new kid that's from the US, and they're kind of like really interesting. And a lot of the students speak English because they've been taking English for years in school. So they find it their way through. Other kids, it's just been a lot of challenges because it's a new culture, a new community, and a new language. And for some, that's just a lot to have to navigate. So it seems to be pretty specific to students, but when you get older kids, most of them have an exposure to English because they've been taking it for years, and they watch all the TV in Portugal, all the movies. They don't dub them here. They play them in English and then just have subtitles. So the kids learn English from the TV and the movies as well. All right. So Brenda is asking, do you know if you have to actually be receiving Social Security to start the process or will be approved? Brenda, you absolutely have to be receiving it for 3 months. So you need to make sure you have deposits from Social Security for 3 months that are provable in your bank account before you can apply for the D7. They will not approve you just on a benefits letter. And that goes with any passive income that you're using, dividends, rental income, Social Security, anything like that. You have to have 3 months of consecutive deposits to show that you've been receiving it to qualify for the visa. Do apartments and condos in Portugal have HOA fees for building maintenance? Yes, they do. So almost every building in Portugal is an actual condo for what we would think of in the United States. There are very few to no apartment buildings that are owned by a property management company and then rent them only out to people where they own every apartment. That's not how it's done here. All the buildings you see here are owned by individual owners, and then they're leasing them out to you. So if you are an owner, you will be owning a fraction of a building and you will have a condominio fee. And they have the HOA. So they pay for the cleaning, the maintenance of the common areas, and they do a reserve for the maintenance on the buildings. So they're very affordable here, though. You will find on a building that doesn't have a pool, so a basic building that has some elevators, a garage, and a lobby, maybe some green space outside, the average HOA is somewhere between 50 and 100 euros a month. And then if it has a pool or more like gyms and pools, if it's a more robust building, you might see them between 100 and 150, 175. So much, much more affordable because it's not a litigious society. So they don't have to carry such high insurance riders for lawsuits. So it just makes it much more affordable. All right. So Terry is asking, with your relationship with Novo Banco, do you have a recommendation for the initial financial agent? I'm sorry, Terry. I'm not quite sure what you're asking here. So we do have a great relationship with Novo Banco, and within our services, we can open a bank account for you remotely and work with Novo Banco to have that happen. We work with our partner, Joanna, and the team here in Alcobaça that opens them for people all across the country. So initial financial agent, we will move your account and help you assign it to the city that you choose, even if it's opened here in Alcobaça. So we can help you navigate that when you move here. Okay, perfect. Yay. All right. So Lauren's saying, roughly, what is the cost range of rent in the Porto area for unfurnished apartments? Well, if you want to live in what most people want, which is the Bonfim, Bom Sucesso area, which is up in the more residential, away from the tourist section, and you're looking for a T3 with 2 bathrooms, unfurnished, with about 100 to 120 square meters, with a little bit of outdoor space, and accepts pets. That's pretty much what every American is asking for. So I'm kind of going with that general description, and accessible with an elevator and with some heat and with a washing machine. So I'm giving you like the most requested type of apartment in Portugal and specifically to Porto. You're safe in the 1,500 euro a month range. There are certainly variables above and below, but 1,500 is a really good place to start for that area. All right. And Juliet, before you have a Novo Banco account, can you use Wise accounts for some payments? You can't, in most cases, you're not going to be able to because most, like landlords, for example, accept IBAN transfers and they might take your first deposit as a Wise, but they're not going to allow that to be an ongoing way. Your utilities would all have to be set up on account debit transfers. So it's not really recommended also because if something goes haywire with Wise, it's very hard. Wise doesn't have a robust customer service. So tracking deposits, payments for larger amounts can be really tricky. So, but in a lease, they're going to ask for the IBAN for the bank account and they're going to ask that to be compared. And that's how you're going to make your payments. All right. So let's see. It looks like we're wrapping up. Do we have any other final questions? Any that we wanted to jump onto? So Amy is asking that you're looking at the golden visa. Do you have a sense of how long from making investment to receiving residency permit? I've seen some horror stories about the processing time. And they're right. We have clients that are waiting over 2 years for that permit. So that is all over the board. I'm seeing companies saying that they can do it in 6 weeks and get the residency permit. I haven't actually witnessed anybody having that happen. The golden visa process is backed up. You may get a provisional approval, but getting the actual card seems to be taking a significant amount of time. So unfortunately, it seems that it's longer than shorter at the moment. It's taking a lot longer than, for example, a D7 or a D8. And Dawn is asking, do you become a resident the moment you get IMA approval, or do you have to be there for 183 days? No, you are a resident the second you go into your IMA appointment and you do your biometrics. They do your fingerprints, they take a photo, and they will provisionally, what I mean by provisionally approve is they will approve you and they will give you a piece of paper with your residency card number on it. You are a resident at that time. And then you'll receive in the mail the actual physical card. So you don't have to be in the country an additional 183 days. At that appointment, that is when you start your residency countdown, so to speak, to your 5 years. And Terry, what is the best way to get PTP the funds to sign up for your services? Well, you do your call or you schedule a conversation with us. And then once we've determined that our services match what you're looking for, we send out an invoice with a Stripe link. So you can pay via credit card, debit card, PayPal. It gives you a variety of ways to pay. And we send that link out to you once you've had the conversation and we made sure that our services match what you're looking for. And Scott's saying, oh, thank you, Scott. Now, we're really happy to be here and helping in this. There's a lot of questions, I know. Please feel free to schedule a call with us. Feel free to go to our website, grab a time on the calendar. We're happy to talk to you all individually. It is so important that you know that we're here for the long run. We want to help you through the whole process. And we're not real estate agents. We're not here to sell you a property. We're not here to force you into a certain kind of lease or purchase. We're here to help you navigate the process in the way that works best for you. So from the very beginning, like these conversations, all the way to when we hand you the keys and help you get a car and, register your address, we go through the whole process with you. And we really want to be there as a resource. So Kelly, yes, this is being recorded. Everyone that registered will have this sent out so that you can refer back to it. And I just really want to say thank you again for being here. And if you need anything, please reach out. We really look forward to speaking with you. And thank you again. And I hope you all have a great day and keep looking at Portugal. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.